Hello and welcome to Three Questions With. Got my friend Alysa with us today. Good morning, Alysa. Welcome to the show.
Morning, Kevin. Thank you for having me.
So, Alysa, as part of HR, I asked you to come on the show today. I want to talk about Pride Month. And I see companies doing different things and trying, but unfortunately, sometimes it doesn't come across as well as we want it to. How do we make sure, I guess I want to use the word authentic. How do we make sure if we do something, people look at it and go, they really meant that, not just, hey, it's Pride Month, let's do something, and I'll clap that we did it. It's important to make sure you do it right.
It is. And doing it right is different for every organization, for every individual that's, part of the LGBTQIA plus community. And so I recommend don't just take rainbows and paste them up on your hallway. Don't just hang a pride flag from your building and say, okay, we've acknowledged it, we're good. Go to the people that work for you. You don't know who the LGBTQIA plus community is. So just pull everybody, reach out to them and say, how can we honor Pride Month for you, right? And there are some ways that I would recommend doing that. So you can maybe make a donation to a local charity that helps with those that are having to, that are dealing with coming out or that are in that community and need some support, right? You could also make just a donation to Pride Month celebrations or something like that. But another option is to have some education, right? So have some presentations where if people are comfortable, they can tell their stories, or just conversations about pronouns. How do we use them? Why do we use them? How to make sure we're gender neutralizing things as we have conversations. And so those are ways in which you can really start to move forward on Pride Month versus just hanging a flag. Now, your employees may say, hey, we don't need this big celebration. We just want you to do X or Y. But that's really up to you, is going into the organization and finding out what those people want and then honoring them in that way.
Now, we need to have buy-in from the top, right? If this isn't one of those, okay, we're going to do something, but that's going to be the day the president and the vice presidents all go golfing. Like, okay, we're going to do it, but we're not going to be around for it. Has to come from the top. Otherwise, probably going to fall flat.
It does. And, everybody in the leadership team should be visible for whatever is happening, right? Not just to take credit, but to show that they value all of the people that work for the organization and all of these important, initiatives and recognitions and observances months. We have these different observances every month. And if you're picking and choosing which ones you're there for, you're really sending a message for what you support and what you don't support.
That makes sense. So, but Alysa, sometimes I find people are just afraid. They're like, I don't know what to do. If they're in that situation, can you help them? Can you guide them through, everything we just talked about, how to make sure that if you're going to do it, you do it right?
Absolutely. First, I would love to teach them those education pieces, right? Transition everything from using he or she to just they, them. It doesn't matter if you're addressing somebody that you know their gender, just use they, them. It's much easier that way for everybody. And really having those conversations about the challenges that people in that group face or the discrimination that they face. And so that's one way in which I can help, is really that education piece. But I can also work with you to say what's going to make the biggest impact in your organization in terms of actually honoring this in a way that does justice to that community and those employees that work for you. And I would even encourage you to go one step further and say, how are you doing this all year long? Not just in June when everybody's got the rainbows up, but how are you doing this all year long to ensure that your employees feel safe, valued, and appreciated that are in that community?
I really like that point, and I hope someday we get to the point where we don't need to do any 1 month celebration because we're doing it all the time. But yeah, I think you have to be careful there too. You use the expression, hang up the rainbow flag. July 1st, you rip it off the wall. What's the message you're sending? Like, okay, the month's over, so we're going back to the things that were happening before. That's bad, right?
Right. And I would say maybe you leave, a hallway in your wall that's like a culture hallway, right? And for each of these national observances month, maybe you leave some pieces of information up there, some resources where people can go, some of the contributions that you've made throughout the year to these different national observances. Find a way to keep that going so that when you do sort of remove the flag, so to speak, there's still stuff going on that the employees don't feel like, well, there's my month, it came and went, you know.
I like your comments about the educational piece, because sometimes when we don't understand something, we have a tendency to either say something silly or we don't say anything. I'm afraid I'm going to hurt that person's feelings, so I'm going to choose not to speak to them instead, which is horrible because now you make them feel like they're not part of the team. So does it really all start with the educational piece?
100%. And what happens is unfairly, we ask those people that are in the LGBTQIA community to be the ones to educate us, right? And they're sitting there saying, why is it always our responsibility to educate you all? Can't you go out and get some education for yourself, right? And so the answer to that is yes. You know, how can you incorporate real stories, right? Even if it's not your employees, real stories that you've seen online in books, et cetera, that are true and factual, right? But also making sure that you're educating them and not relying on the population to do it. And on a different topic, Kevin, I mean, again, it goes back to the communication piece, right? I'll even use my name, for example. My name is Alysa. 99% of the time, people say it wrong. They say Alyssa. And I could either continue to let them say it, or I could correct them. But what would take it one step further is, rather than them saying it and being like, did I say it wrong? Did I say it right? Or having me correct them, just say, how do I pronounce your name, right? And I was in a call with somebody who is part of the LGBTQIA plus community, and she got on a call and she said, hi, my name is so-and-so, and I identify as, she, her. It's as simple as that, right? And so if you just start off using they until they say, or you could say, what are your appropriate pronouns? I want to make sure I address you correctly. That's all that the education starts at just that piece and can grow much bigger than that.
So Lisa, what's the best way for people to reach out to you? How can I learn more, my friend?
If you visit apeoplepartnerllc.com, you will find all the ways to get in touch with me, and there are many, so I implore you to do that.
Awesome. I appreciate you taking a few minutes to call into the show, and as always, thanks for being my friend.
Thank you.